This is Ravens Flock Talk Podcast, coming to you every week with their thoughts and opinions on each and every Ravens game. Tune in weekly and join the flock.
This is Ravens Flock Talk. I am your host, Brandon, and my dad joins me as my other host. It's been a while since you guys heard from us. It's been a while since we've done this, and we are back from our break from the bye week and a nice little warm-up game against the Giants leading into our big game next week. And just a solid performance. I was most interested to see because I was thinking, how am I going to pump myself up to be interested in this game against the 2-11, now 2-12 Giants? And I was really curious to see how Lamar would react after he disclosed about his mother, calling him, cursing him out, wanting him to run more. I wanted to see how Lamar's approach was going to be during this game, and he was just on fire with his throwing, with the choice to run instead of holding on to the ball, looking for the open man. So overall, solid performance on both the offense and defense, which is nice for a change. Again, I won't put too much weight on it because it's the Giants, but it was a good win. To start out after getting off your bye week.
Yeah, Brandon, I was anxious to see this game because it was predicted as going to be a blowout. It was a big spread on the game.
Largest of the season, they said.
Largest of the season, which I always get worried about. But off the bye week and getting some rest for some of the players, they did exactly what they needed to do. They came out and showed the Giants that they are who they are, right?
Yeah.
So what I'm really, really pleased about is Lamar's performance coming off, just like you said. He was being criticized for not running quick enough, fast enough when he had the gaps and he had the opportunities. And he showed not only could he do that, but he also is a passer. And that was good to see.
Yeah. We've always known that. To me, it was like his decisiveness, whether should I run right now or not, and I didn't see like any second guessing from him, and so yeah, I mean it was he only had 4 incompletions, 290 yards, 5 touchdowns, 0 picks, and 6 carries for 65. He was putting up basically video game numbers, and right out of the gate, Justice Hill with the kick return and great field position, and we're moving the ball. And then Lamar, the only thing that we could really criticize him this game, not really criticize, maybe criticize is the wrong word, but kind of like, I wish we could get that one back was, you say it all the time, don't fight for those extra 2 yards that are meaningless, especially if they're not at the goal line and stuff. And he does that instead of sliding and just taking his yardage, and he fumbles. And the Giants recover, and I'm going, please, guys, don't. We started out great. Let's not make this game closer than it needs to be. And then Giants go 3-and-out. We get the ball back around the 40-ish yard line, 4th and 1. They trot the offense out there. I'm thinking they're going to go for it, and they don't. They try to draw them off sides. We end up punting the ball. My friend texts me, well, what are we doing? And I texted him jokingly. It's almost like, we don't have Derrick Henry. That's what you get him there for, 4th and 1. So in the beginning, those are the only shaky moments I can say.
And the interesting part about that, on our previous podcast, we always say on the first possession, if something goes bad, it usually goes south. So now you're talking about the Giants and how can we come out flat or have something happen.
That changes the
whole aura of the game, the whole psyche of the game. But to Lamar's credit, I read on the Ravens site when that happened, he said he was just going to lock in and play Ravens ball, which he did, and which is also good to see because you have to go through adversity sometimes on the first series. And we've had bad experiences with that, where the team just, for some reason, on the very first series or the second series, if things don't go their way or they get behind, it just seems like they can't recover. And so this was a good game against a team, a mediocre team, I'll say, to
mediocre.
Prove.
They're horrible.
Yeah,
I'm going
to give them credit. I'm going to give them credit.
Probably going to get the first pick.
Yeah. But to that point though, it's just good to see against a team like that they bounced back quickly and recovered from that incident, that fumble. So I'm glad to see it.
A lot of people were messaging me and saying, especially, I mean, look at the bad losses, the Raiders, the Browns, and the motto is like the Ravens tend to play down to their opponents. You know, with bad teams. So this was the worst team we played all year, and I think that bye was needed. I think losing to Philly right before the bye, you know, they were kind of like foaming at the mouth, you know, ready to go. And I want to see that same, you know, intensity and you know, choices on the field that Lamar made this game for next week. But big game for Bateman. First game he's ever had, multiple touchdowns. You know, he was on fire. The first one he's wide open, but the second one, nice toe tap in the back of the end zone. And Justice Hill also had a big game. You wanted to highlight Justice Hill?
Yeah, I mean, I'm very impressed with him this year. He's really come into his own. That last touchdown catch that he did at his shoestring catch, and then picking it up and going right for the end zone was a really, really fantastic play.
Yeah.
So I'm glad to see him really coming up as the second back now to Henry and coming into his own. He to me, he's almost like an additional receiver. He's got great hands. In fact, I was telling Brandon just before that in the fourth quarter, I said, you know, Justice Hill, he's like a receiver. His hands are so good. And then next thing you know, he gets this shoestring catch, goes in for the touchdown. It was perfect timing.
About that. You said that right before that happened.
Yeah, I mean, and that's what I want to see from him, because when you have the two-headed monster of Henry and him, that's a perfect. And then you got Lamar in the mix. That's going to be hard to defend, and it's kind of like Philly a little bit, you know, the way we play, and we have those weapons. So good to see.
Yeah, just one thing I wanted to add on to that with Justice Hill. You know, there was a lot of hype from the fan base and even the official Ravens social media page with Keaton Mitchell coming back. Mm-hmm. And to my knowledge, maybe I'm wrong, maybe somebody in the comments on Instagram or YouTube will tell me, but to my knowledge, I don't recall Keaton having a carry yet, having a handoff from Lamar since he's been back. And he was not activated for this game. And Justice is playing so well, right? It's almost like you don't really... Not saying you don't miss him, but you're not like, oh, we need Keaton Mitchell, right? We need him to come back because he's an important piece to us winning these games because, you know, Henry's playing good and Justice is playing well. So it's kind of now, Justice is playing so well and such a threat to your point in the pass game, it's kind of hard to implement him now, it seems.
Yeah, when he came back off the injured reserve roster, he did have a couple carries, but just a few.
I just only recall him in the special teams to my knowledge, but maybe I'm wrong.
I believe
maybe
he
he
did.
has.
Well,
but you know, just moving on real quick. You know, Zay had a solid game, 6 catches, 53 yards. Didn't really have like that big explosive play, and Mark Andrews, you know, solid now, breaking the record too, most touchdowns by a Ravens player, I believe.
Ravens player,
beating Jamal Lewis.
Yeah, and Andrews, you know, you really can't say enough because he's so solid, you know, and I think last year with that severe injury really hampered him throughout the year. So he's now coming back, you know, he's got his win back, and he's the Mark Andrews in the red zone that we always expected. Mm-hmm. So that's good to see coming down the stretch, you know, to the playoffs. And can't say enough about his hands in the red zone and some of these catches.
Always. I mean, that was a laser throw by Lamar. I mean, I thought that was his best throw of the game. He had a lot of them, but man, I mean, he had to fit it in a tight window. And when you need to like high point that ball, Mark Andrews can go up like a basketball player getting a rebound and go up there and catch it and hold on to it after contact.
Yeah, and he's done that time and time, and he's big enough to hold on to it and not let somebody, you know, knock it out of his hands. You know what I'm also impressed with his hands like that in the red zone is Bateman. He's got strong hands in the red zone. He can go up high and catch it. So, you know, that receiving core in the red zone is good to see.
It's nice to see. You know, I've been hard on Bateman since we started this podcast in previous years, and it's finally we get him as a breakout guy. And I was disappointed that you know, he had to leave against the Philly game because we needed him, and because he's been that good this year. You know, he's been a solid number 2 spot. And there was a couple plays, you know, this season he's been like an outlet for Lamar as well.
I believe the stats on him is he has more catches this year than he had in his first 3 seasons. And his thing is he can't stay healthy. I know he can't stay on the field, but once he stays on the field, that's good.
This has actually been the healthiest he's been.
He's been, so hopefully he remains like that because some guys are like him are prone to getting injured, and you're always kind of worried about that because we need him. We need him badly, and that's what's so good about when you talk about Zay. Back to Zay. Here's a smaller guy, but he is tough, and he doesn't get injured, often.
Yeah, that's the good thing.
And so that's a plus, and he's got the speed on so that's a really good plus for our receiving core. And, Aguilar always gets his 1 catch or 2 catches at the most and calls it a day. So
I think for me, the biggest surprise was Devontae Walker when he caught it. I didn't even know he was playing. I've been waiting to see him and TJ Tampa. Really, I was really excited about TJ Tampa at the corner position for us. But I'm like, this Devontae Walker, I hear, out of North Carolina, he's fast. He's 6'1". I actually thought he was taller. I looked it up. He's 6'1". I thought he was like 6'3". But, we're so used to these little receivers, right? I'm like, this guy's, he's a big body, so... It was cool. I was like, who caught that? Oh, Devontae Walker. Oh, my God. I can't believe he's actually playing, So for his first catch and a nice toe tap, dragging the foot as well to be a touchdown, it was a good sighting to see.
To your credit, you've been telling me about this guy, and I didn't know much about him. And to see him in that first catch and a touchdown and a toe tap was a good sign, to see that. So I hope they utilize him more now that they can see what he can do out there,
Yeah, to quickly highlight, on the defense, I thought they had good pressure. Again, it's the Giants. I'm not going to put too much into it, but I'm not going to, not acknowledge how good the team was. But constant pressure, Malik Harrison finished with the most tackles. I think ever since that Chargers game, man, you're really seeing more value with him, which I've been waiting for years to see with him. And Ardarius gets the interception. I mean, that was, you talk about a very bad look for Marcus, where this was a guy that wasn't supposed to play, right? One of my friends told me about that. I didn't know the reason why. Then I saw it was a personal matter. Then he travels with the team on Saturday, and Marcus was supposed to play. Next thing you know, he's a healthy scratch, and then he gets an interception.
Yeah.
It's like, wow.
Yeah.
And, I'll just say this, and me and you were talking about this in terms of Marcus Williams. And to Ardarius' credit, to change positions. I think he played safety at one point, maybe during college, but for to go from corner to safety and making the plays he has been, what a great in-season move. I don't know who made it, whether it was Dean Pease or Zach Orr, but that was a smart, high IQ move on their part.
But the question, Brandon, is what's going on with Marcus Williams?
Yeah.
What is really going on with him behind the scenes?
A lot of healthy scratches, being benched, and we were saying, is he that bad to the point where he's not even like on the bench, where if somebody gets hurt, he will go in?
Yeah.
He's just like not even an option. I mean, he's that bad. And I would say around like 5 or 6 games left in the season, I saw PFF, Pro Football Focus, say he was dead last in coverage in his position.
Wow.
Dead last. So obviously they just see no value with him at all, even if someone gets hurt. That's just my guess.
Which is
he's not
discerning.
activated.
Which is discerning because he's a veteran and he knows our Ravens system.
He's been bad. I mean, you can't deny that. But it's like what we're trying to say is he's been that bad to the Ravens.
Yeah.
Like, wow,
that you can't even put him on the field.
Yeah.
So as an alternate, as a safety valve in case somebody gets hurt.
Yeah, just in case someone gets hurt. But obviously not.
Yeah.
So
that's really interesting.
It's wild to see. I'm not saying it's a bad decision because to me, like, who's been worse? Stevens, Eddie Jackson, or Marcus Williams? I feel like you can make a case for each one of them. It's really like there's no definitive answer, in my opinion, because they've all played poorly. One was so bad he got cut. But, wow, it was that to us, that's just been shocking these last games. Because when's the last game he actually played? Yeah. I don't even know off the top of my head.
I think it's three weeks ago.
I think it's more than that, honestly.
Yeah. So the other.
Go ahead.
Yeah,
with it.
Brandon Stephens. We talk about him every week now, in not a good way.
Even the commentators are saying.
Yeah, when a commentator is saying he's been being picked on,
Yeah.
right? And it is true. And then when you watch him like we do as a Ravens fan, he's not turning his head around to look for the ball. Every time he gets thrown against, it's a pass interference. And even Harbaugh is saying that's an issue with our pass interference. All the penalties that we received is usually pass interference.
That was the one thing that you could say this defense, that one drive, 4 penalties on
one drive.
That's why they got their first touchdown. It was bad.
And so now I believe on film, other teams are looking at Brandon Stephens and he's a liability now. So I'm not sure how they can kind of hide him or help him, so.
And my thing is, like, we got Tre'Davious White, and he had the 2 pass breakups for touchdowns against Pittsburgh, and I'm like, okay, that's what I've been waiting to see with Brandon. And my only explanation as to why he's not out there more is maybe because we just acquired him and he's trying to get up to speed with the playbook. But I don't know, from a play perspective, you could say that Brandon makes more plays than White at this point because it's like you said, he never makes a play on the ball and there's a pass interference. One of them were kind of tic-tacky to his credit this game, but it's tough watching him.
Yeah,
it really
because he's turning his head way too late. He's grabbing on people, which is right in front of the ref, and that's going to be called every single time. So, hey, I don't know what to say. I was just telling Brandon, I wonder what's in his head when he's out there on the field because they are definitely picking on him, and he's got to know it. And
it's
I
night
noticed
and day between him and Wiggins. What you see Wiggins do, it's night and day.
And then he had a pass interference, I believe, in this game. And then the very next player, the 2 plays from that, Wiggins had a beautiful pass defense.
Yeah,
and everybody's running over to Wiggins in the back of the end zone.
In the corner.
So I'm like, I wonder how he feels with that. Because. So there, I saw Kyle running up to him, congratulate him for a good play, and then Stephens is nowhere to be found. Right?
On the penalties, the last thing I want to say on the defensive side is what's very concerning. That I think this is the worst thing that we could talk about during this game is the penalties because this team coming into this game is 2-11. You would expect a 2-11 team to have a lot of penalties. Mm-hmm. To be making so many mistakes, to not be a disciplined football team, and that's why they're 2-11. Meanwhile, we're coming in this game 8-5, we're going to be in the playoffs. At the end of the game, we got 12 penalties for 112 yards. Yeah. Giants have 6 penalties for 44. So the problem is it doesn't matter whether it's an upscale team like Buffalo or Kansas City or a bottom feeder team. This team is going to commit a lot of penalties, and that's a problem, especially in the playoffs.
I know, and Harbaugh, he addressed it in his press conference after the game, which doesn't make us feel any better.
Yeah.
But it was about pass interference calls and roughing the passer. And he even said on the Ravens site he's going to have more drills this week to for the quarterback to make sure that they hit him on the side, that they don't put their full body contact on him, drilling him into the ground. Well, that's a given. Why do you have to have drills at this time of the season?
Yeah.
I mean, to me, that's just discipline and practice. And at this stage in the season, that should not be top of the list when you're practicing. So I don't know, this penalty stuff. And it's been kind of the Ravens' bio for the last couple of years, too. They're very penalty driven.
It's always been our bio.
Yeah,
and it's a testament to, when you're the most, or I don't know what it is right now. At one point we had the most, maybe we still do, but I know we're up there, top of the league. To still have a winning record, it's kind of crazy.
I know.
And it's a testament to a Ravens fan saying we always shoot ourselves in the foot.
Yeah. They said, the Ravens beat themselves, and that's the worst way to beat yourself is with penalties.
Yep.
So
to segue to wrap this up, to segue with the penalties, you're going to have to definitely lower that next week when we play Pittsburgh, which is going to be a emotional game, a very aggressive game, and you're going to have to keep your emotions in check and not hurt yourself in a game that's probably going to be low scoring and it's going to come down to a few plays.
Yes.
So this is a huge game. If we beat Philly, I was going to feel a lot better, right? because we would have the upper hand, but we dropped that game, but we needed to win this, and we needed Philly to actually, ironically, help us out, which they did for a change. A team helped us out. So, don't let them basically put a stamp on this division this year in your home building on your field, right? After the way you lost the first game, we haven't beat them, I think, since 2019. Now is the time. Patrick Queen comes back home. Don't let them celebrate on your field on that shield, on that logo. So now is the time. And if you handle business, all you have left to do, because I think they're still going to be in first place if we beat them, all you have to do is cross your fingers, and maybe they drop both games or split it, and we win the next two, right? And now we have this AFC North. But just handle your business.
Yeah, you have to treat this as a divisional playoff game at home, and you cannot lose this game.
Yeah.
You have the momentum, you have the fans behind you, you have the crowd noise. There's no reason to not come out flat. There's no reason to put everything on the line. Roquan said that. I'm sure it's because of Queen, going against him again. Mm-hmm. And, I can't agree with you more, Brandon. This is it. This kind of will dictate the future of this year, of how we're going to go into.
From our perspective, I'm sure you will agree, right? If we beat them and let's say we split the next two games and they win the next two or something, you're going, okay, but we did our job.
Right.
That's out of our control.
Right.
Fine,
Right.
But win this game.
Yeah.
Win this game,
Yeah.
And we Steelers fans are going to be dancing and clowning us if we lose again.
Yeah, this is bragging rights for Baltimore, for the Ravens in our house. And they're going to have a lot of terrible towels out there.
Yeah.
So we just need to come. We need to make a statement. And, we never know how to play the Steelers. We just never know. Other teams blow them out, but not us. And we need to change the game plan. We need to do something a little bit different, Todd, with the offense. Have some trick plays in there. Do something different than you've done in the past, because you haven't beat these guys in years.
The only thing I would slightly disagree with you, where you said treat this like a divisional playoff game, I think, because I think we get uptight. I think even Ben Roethlisberger said that when he was referring to John Harbaugh when he matches up with Mike. I would just treat this like another game and don't get so emotional you get out of your element, right? Go in and just play football, right? Yeah. And just 1-0 every week. Just treat this like another game, even though it's got a lot riding on the line, right? Because I could just see them getting uptight with a turnover or something and just falling apart with everything that's on the line.
I can't disagree. And what I really mean by that is play all game.
Yeah, play all
right
out.
To the last snap.
I'm not saying you're completely wrong. I'm just saying from the Ravens,
I'm just saying sometimes
they tend to get uptight.
They don't play 4 quarters,
Yeah.
And they have to understand that you can't let up. You can't let up off the gas. When you have your foot on their throats, kill them. Do it.
And when the schedule comes out and it's always like our divisional opponents at the end of the season, you're going, why do they do? Well, this is the reason why.
Yeah.
Because it's going to be a tight race most likely, especially in the AFC North, and it's going to come down to a few of the last games. So they had to anticipate this, and I'm confident. I am, even though we've been losing. It's going to be a close game. But I'm confident, especially with Lamar disclosing about his mother. I think it amped him to another level.
What it's going to come down to, in my opinion, is the playmakers have to make plays, right? When you have that opportunity, when there is a fumble, you have to recover it. When there's a chance of an interception, you have to catch it. And in these previous games, our playmakers have kind of let us down at times, but not in this game. Everybody's got to be on point, and I believe we have a better team than the Steelers do on paper, and we just need to prove it.
Yeah, the last thing I'll close out with this is Eagles they kind of dominated that game. That's kind of a good blueprint to go off of. Now, they have a tremendous defensive line. I would take their defensive line over us, but the bottom line with Pittsburgh is that Russell is kind of like a game manager. They're gonna try to limit his turnovers, keep possession, milk clock, right? But the second you force a turnover on them or something, they start to panic because Pittsburgh's not that type of offensive team. So and to their point, right? Or to my point is, they had 2 turnovers granted, in beautiful field position in that Philly game. Those two fumbles basically back to back. Those are the type of things that how Pittsburgh wins. And in games like Ravens, we have countless of scenarios like that.
Yeah.
So you have to protect the ball and force some turnovers and put the pressure on them.
Yeah, I was just going to say that you just reminded me that the way to beat Russell is to put pressure on him. He's not a tall quarterback. He's not a big quarterback.
Let's get some interceptions, you know?
Yeah, and you know, in that game he has some offense that the defense knocked the ball down because he's not a tall guy.
Yeah.
So, you know, guys like Urban, if he's in the lineup, you know, they can bat balls down, get in his face, catch your hands up.
Yep.
And force him to get out of the pocket, even though he's good out of the pocket. Put the pressure on him, and that's kind of how we have to.
You kind of saw Russell kind of, I won't say fall apart, but not look himself when Pickens is not out there, because he loves Pickens as his favorite receiver, and now these are 2 weeks in a row I believe Pickens has been out. Now he's probably going to be back for this game, so prepare as if he's going to play most likely, especially with everything on the line.
And T.J. Watt with that injury.
Yeah. I'm sure T.J. will play. So we'll see. That's all we can do. But I hope the Ravens, with the fans back and them, they come out and we finally end this streak of not beating them.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a huge game next week. Highly emotional. I know everybody's going to be tuned in, waiting to see what we have to say after the fact. Yeah. And
looking forward to it.
Let's hope for the best.
This is probably the best scenario we've had against the Steelers in terms of intensity and fans watching a football game.
You can't ask for a better situation.
Yeah, this one's going to be rock'em sock'em for sure.
Yeah, with Queen coming back, it's like it has all the marbles invested in it. So. Glad to be back after the bye. We're going to be rocking and rolling these next days. We got 3 games in the next 10 days, so you'll be hearing from us quite frequently. So we're going to be, rocking just before we head into the playoffs. So thank you for listening. Thank you for tuning in, and tune in next week when we face the Pittsburgh Steelers.